Overcoming is not a new concept. History has shown us the experiences of the historic voices and martyrs. Have you been struggling with pain in the past? Do you need help with dealing with things that are holding you back from achieving all that you want in life? Tune in to My Pain, Your Gan, hosted by Pastor Arthur Williams. This show is designed to help the next generation accomplish the goals they've set out to attain through practical conversations. Join in and find how to turn prior pain into glorious gain.
Good morning, family. Welcome to the first episode of My Pain, Your Gain. My name is Arthur Williams. The basis of this show is reaching a generation to accomplish the goals set for their lives through practical conversations, exposing the pain from the past to help navigate the next generation to the next level. This vision was birthed, family, based upon my pain in my past, the past things and the situations that I've experienced in my life. And so I am grateful for the opportunity to do this show. I want to introduce this show. This is the first episode of My Pain, Your Gain. And my intentions are to focus on our previous generations, present generations, as well as our future generations. I also want to pause just for a few moments to remember the lives that were lost this week, for the elementary students that were gunned down this week. It's a sad situation. It's a sad life that we're living right now through the pain and the agony of this country. And so our focus and attention for our show is basically to highlight some of the trials and tribulations that we face in our life. And so as I speak about the realness, the pain from my past, for future episodes, I will also bring in powerful entrepreneurs, people of our community, interviewing them, basically sharing their pain and what the trials and tribulations and the valleys that they had to experience in order to get to the places where they are. And so this show is going to be real. It's going to be relevant. And I hope you're blessed. I hope you're touched by this show. Listen, I am a pastor. I'm a preacher. But also, I understand real conversations. And I want to be transparent on this show. We're going to be transparent. We're going to be real. And so as I further go through this experience and through this show, this first episode is going to focus on my past, my pain, the things that I've experienced in ministry. I started off in ministry at the bright young age of 16 years old. I had no clue what I was dealing. I had no clue of what I was doing. I just knew I loved to preach. I knew I loved church. I knew I loved the experience of church. And so I was in church, but I fully did not understand the difference between religion and relationship. And so I knew the nuances of church. I knew how to build up the excitement in church, but I had no clue of what I was getting myself into. And so here I am, a young 16-year-old brother, starting off in ministry. I had a pastor that I loved. God bless him. He's gone on to be with the Lord. But I didn't have true mentorship. I didn't have true development when I started in ministry. And so I didn't understand ministry. I didn't understand my lifestyle had to line up with what I was preaching about. And so that started my pain. That started my process in ministry. That started my process of not understanding and fully understanding how important my lifestyle was supposed to line up with what I preached about. And so at a bright young age of 16, listen, y'all, I was doing everything I was big and bad enough to do. And so when I would preach all week long, I was living a double life. From after Sunday was over, I would leave Sunday morning service, and listen, I was wilding. I was having a good time, and I didn't understand the importance of how my lifestyle should line up with what I preach about. And so I hope to help somebody throughout these episodes, throughout this show. I plan to be here for a long time. And so, like I said, with this show, we want to help a generation. We want to help us understand that, number one, try to avoid the pitfalls that we experienced, that I have experienced, without having proper mentorship. Let me tell y'all, when I started off in ministry, I would go preach praise. I was a young prodigy, and people would invite me to come preach. But I had a thing for women. I loved women. And so, listen, y'all, I'm just being real. I would sleep with certain women, and I didn't care, because it was always told to me that I could preach over sin, that I could preach over my pain, like I could preach over the sin that I was committing. And that's not true. That is not true in ministry. I just ministered to a young man last night who calls me his mentor. And I was just real with him. You have to be humble. Being humble takes you a long way in ministry. And I should be further than where I am now, but because of the decisions that I made, we can't put it on nobody else, because you made that choice. You made that decision. But the great thing about it is God grants us grace. He grants us mercy. But in my situation, I had no clue of how to pull myself out of it. And so I was deep into it. And so I would live this double life. And what hurts me is the fact that I was not at a place in my life to where I was getting the mentorship. Listen, y'all, I would go in the offices of some of my pastor mentors, and the conversations that they would have, it will blow your mind. The conversations that they would discuss, the things that they would discuss would blow your mind. And imagine being a young 16-year-old young man hearing these conversations. It starts to infiltrate your mindset. It starts to infiltrate your thoughts to where, hey, if they can do it, I can do it. I had a bishop in my life at a young age that prophesied to me. His name, and I'm going to call his name is Bishop Zemekiel Jackson. He prophesied to me years ago, and he said, Art, you're not going to be able to do the same things your mentors did, because there's a different anointing on your life. I didn't understand what he was saying at that time, because, listen, I was living my life like I wanted to. Some of the things I did, I would go preach and then be in the club the next night. I would go to the club, have a hangover, and come to church Sunday morning. And because of the anointing that was on my life, yes, I was halfway drunk, hangover and all. But guess what? I still got up and did ministry. But that wasn't the right way to do it. I'm not saying I'm perfect now, but guess what? I'm an imperfect vessel, perfecting myself every day to reach the next level. And so this has been birthed in my spirit to have a platform to where I can discuss real situations that I experienced in my life, and hopefully it help a young man, a young woman who is thinking about going into ministry. And not just ministry. I don't want this show just to be about ministry, but I want it to be about because the Bible speaks about being the lender and not the borrower, being the head and not the tail, being above and not beneath. And so I'm also focusing on real life. How can we move forward in life and develop from our pain and from my pain? And how can I help a young man or a young woman to avoid the situations or the pitfalls that I experience? And so growing up in ministry, not having direction, it kind of hurt me, y'all. Of course, I couldn't talk to my mother about some of these things because my mother was naive to certain things. And so I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know how to express myself. And so here I was hurting. Here I was a hurt man, a hurt young man, hurting people, hurting women in my life. And so I start off at 16, and as I go through my journey, y'all, I didn't get any better, but I grew worse. And so I'm just grateful at this season in my life that I'm able to share my story. I'm able to share some of the experiences that I've had in my journey. A lot of my friends, a lot of my people in my life said, you have a great story, you have a story to tell, and so I want to be able to help somebody, and that's why we're beginning this episode. I wanted to explain that to you all so you can know. Feel free to comment, feel free to like, feel free to share your comments, because I'm not the only one that have experienced this. But I feel like me being real and being open about it, it will help somebody in this season and in this dispensation in your life. Listen, y'all, I thought I had it all together. I was going to preach everywhere, preaching, revivals, preaching Sunday morning services, and people are getting changed, but I'm not getting any better. I was in a dark place. I was in a terrible place that I didn't even recognize that I was in. But as I moved on in ministry and started doing youth work and started working with our youth and started developing our youth, I felt like at that season in my life, as I look back over it, I wasn't the greatest example because my lifestyle didn't line up with what I preached about. My lifestyle did not line up with what God really wanted me to do. And so it took me all these years, you guys, to get to a place to where I was able to face my own demons. I was able to face the reality that, Art, you got to get yourself together. You have to get your life together, because you're going down a hard road. You're going down a steep valley right now. And I kept digging myself deeper and deeper to the point to where I get older and I'm still preaching, but I also find myself getting involved with selling ecstasy pills. I started selling ecstasy pills, but still preaching. Selling ecstasy pills, but still preaching about Christ, because there was no mentorship. I got ordained in the ministry. And the night that I was ordained in the ministry, here I am in the back, and they have this thing called the presbytery. You have to go before a multiplicity of preachers, pastors in the city, and they sign off on you being ordained. Well, I was signed off on being ordained, and all of a sudden, in the room, they're asking me, which did you tap this girl? Did you sleep with this girl? And it wasn't the fact that they were getting on to me or disciplining me. They were asking me because they were saying, man, just because you're a preacher, you still a young man, you still got to live your life. Not true, because you are a reflection of Jesus Christ as a minister. Christian means Christ light. And so when I look at the church today, when I look at our existence today, there are a lot of people that do not want to experience the church because of how we are as preachers and pastors. We're not caring, and I'm not saying all of them, but what I'm suggesting is there are a multiple audience of preachers. There's a multiplicity of pastors and preachers that we have to be real with ourselves. We can't wait till to the point that we can't do it anymore, but we should get to the place to where we can change our level of thinking. This was my poison. This was my demon. This was the thing that had me bound. Here I am speaking, preaching, but I wasn't living what God told me, what God wanted, the way God wanted me to live. And so in this season, I want everybody to understand, as we go from my pain to your gain, I'm in a situation to where I had no direction. I get married to my first wife. I've been divorced twice. I get married to my first wife, and I had no clue. And my father in the ministry, God bless him, my father in the ministry did not give us any counseling sessions. And so we walk into this marriage not understanding what communication was. We didn't understand about marriage. We just walked in this thing because we loved each other. But the reality of it is we needed counseling. We needed to sit before someone. We needed to get true understanding of one another. We didn't know each other. All we had was love and lust. And I really want to call it lust because that's all we had. And so now here we are having twins and we're having children, but there was no love. There was no understanding of each other. And because my life was so radical, it was told to me that y'all didn't need counseling because I'm a preacher. That was wrong. Because here I am, I was walking blind. Here I am living a reckless life. And so I go from that place to a place of walking through this marriage, but I have multiple partners outside of the marriage while I'm in the marriage. And so it ultimately killed my marriage because I was unfaithful. I was unfaithful to her. We're good now. We're friends. But at the end of the day, I should have been in a better place to where I was able to, number one, provide for my family. Not only just provide, but be truthful and honest in the relationship, being open, listening to my spouse, hearing what she had to say, hearing how she felt at that moment. I was just radical. I was ruthless, man. And so that's why I'm here today, trying to get to a generation to let them know or to help them understand the importance of looking at yourself in the mirror. Looking at yourself in the mirror because of who I was, I didn't get any discipline. I was not disciplined. I was just said, ask God for forgiveness, and we were divorced. And then I jumped into another marriage, thought I was doing everything right. And that marriage ended because I was reckless, man. And so here I am going through 2 marriages, and I was just at a point to where, because I was not being disciplined, I kept doing what I wanted to do until the point to where I had to get into the face of God for myself. Nobody else could do it for me. I had to do it for myself. And I went through a phase in my life. I went through a depression in my life because here I am, I'm thinking I'm doing the will of God, but in actuality, I was living a lie. And in order for you to get to a place to where God really wants you to be, you have to be in a place to where you can be honest to yourself. Be honest with yourself. Speak to yourself in the mirror and say, man, what I need to do to change my life? What do I need to do? It's a harsh reality. It's a harsh reality to be able to look at yourself in the mirror. It's not hard for me to talk about this with you guys. It's not hard for me to speak on this because I've dealt with it. It's not just about dealing with it privately, but also dealing with it publicly, because there were some people hurt. There were some people that I hurt that I had to go back to. I had to ask for forgiveness. Now, maybe they forgave me. Maybe they didn't forgive me. But I was able to get that off my chest and express, man, I'm sorry for the way I treated you. I'm sorry for the things that I did to you. I'm sorry for the way I handled you in this season. And so when I was able to do that, then I was able to start working on me. I couldn't be in another relationship being the way I was. I couldn't talk to nobody. So I went 5 to 6 years by myself. And let me help you out too. Once you're honest with yourself, also you have to get some accountability people that's in your that you know that's gonna call you out on your stuff. I didn't have real friends in my life because the real friends in my life were egging me on. They were telling me, man, bro, don't worry about that. Just ask for forgiveness later. I had got to a point in my life to where I would do the sin and ask for forgiveness later. It got to the place to where it didn't matter if I did it, if I didn't do it. I was still, walking in a lie. And I didn't have the correct people in my corner. And so about 5 years ago, I went to a conference and the Spirit of God spoke to me so clear. The Spirit of God said this to me: you got 5 years to get your stuff together. You have 5 years to get your act together. Because after that 5 years, I have something greater for you. I have something that I want to do in your life. But the only way that you can do it, you have to, first of all, look at yourself in the mirror. And so I had to do that, family. I had to look myself in the mirror, and I had to question some of my actions. And then I got with some accountability brothers. I got with some brothers that I trusted that were going to call me out on my stuff. Listen, those fellas helped me out. Those late nights when I had thoughts about going somewhere, I was able to call them. It didn't matter what time it was. They got clearance from their wives for me to call them. I would call them. It was 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. I would reach out to them and say, bruh, hey man, I need prayer. I need y'all help, man, because I got this idea. This thing is oppressing me. This thing is on me. I need prayer. So what happened, first of all, I called myself out. Then I had to reestablish my relationship with God. I had to go to God and say, God, I misrepresented you with my lifestyle. And so I was able to do that. I'm still a work in progress. But listen, I can say on today that I'm in a stable place in my life. I'm in a stable mindset. I'm in a stable place to where I can stand in front of this camera and not be ashamed of what I'm sharing with you all. Listen, the church is important. The body of Christ is important. But it's important also for you to plant yourself in good soil so that pastor or preacher can minister to you the way you need to be ministered to. And so I placed myself God placed me in a place called St. Paul AME Church in St. Augustine, Florida, where I was under a pastor that had experienced almost the same things I experienced in life. But I saw the way he walked. I saw his lifestyle. I visualized him. I saw him in person. I saw the way he walked. And when I put myself and I started, number one, exposing myself and able to have serious conversations, God placed me in a place to where I could get in good soil and grow from that ground. And I came to encourage you and empower you on today. This is not the end of your life. This is just the beginning. Whatever you may be facing, whatever pain you may be experiencing, today is the day that you can say, man, I can turn this thing around. It's not over for you. My pain, your gain. I went through it and I didn't have to go through it. I experienced it and it brought me some pain in my life. It caused some issues in my life. And listen, y'all, I'm still learning. I'm still developing. I'm still trying to reach the place to where God really wants me to be. But at the end of the day, I'm striving. I'm pressing to get to that place. Listen, the areas that I'm walking in this season, God did it. It wasn't me. It wasn't my education. It wasn't my intellect that got me here. It was me, number one, humbling myself. There is some young person listening to me. Listen, all the violence that we experienced just in this week. A young man being killed after graduating, getting his diploma and going home and being murdered viciously. Listen, y'all, as this culture, African Americans, as we go forth in this life, we must understand that God created us to be special. I'm sitting in a studio where it's black owned. This is a black business, and we can be great entrepreneurs. We can be great at what we do because God created us differently. And so I'm speaking to a generation, our previous generation. Listen, it's something called generational curses. And I'm here today. I'm here on this platform to begin the generational breakthrough. I'm here to begin the generational breaking those curses that we have to live a certain lifestyle. Listen, being a man of God, being a preacher is not glamorous. But listen, it takes sacrifice. It takes sacrificing some of the things that you may want to do in order to please God in this season. I hope this blesses you. I hope this show blesses you. I hope this show encourages you. I hope this show brings out the true reality of ministry. Here, I'm an open book. I'm exposing myself. I'm exposing who I am. I'm exposing who I was. I'm exposing the individual that I was at that time. I was completely out of my mind and didn't even know it. I was living double lives and didn't even know it. Maybe double, triple, quadruple lives. I didn't even know it. But in the process, I was hurting people. But now here I am in a season of my life to where I want to be a blessing to a generation. I want to be a blessing in this season. I know there's going to be some people that's going to say, man, he exposing us. I'm not exposing anyone. I'm exposing the reality of life, the reality that being transparent in this season, being transparent in this walk, because if we're not transparent, if we're not open, listen, there's nothing that I have not done that I have not shared with my children. There's nothing that I have done in my life that I have not shared with the people in my life. And so I came to encourage this generation on today and empower you that you can be successful. Eagles fly alone. Pigeons hang together. I want to encourage you, are you going to be a pigeon or are you going to be an eagle? Because sometimes in this life, you have to soar alone in order to get to where God really wants you to be. I thought being a part of the crew was cool. But guess what, y'all? It stopped me from experiencing some of the greatest successes in my life. I don't want you to experience that. I don't want you to have to go through that pain. Yes, you may experience some up days. You will experience some down days. But the truth of the matter is that the places that I found myself in, the valleys that I found myself in, it was because of the decisions. Listen, y'all, God gives us choices. When you walked down that aisle or when you gave your life over to God, that was a choice. That was a decision that you made. We can't blame God for the violence that's going on in our communities. There was decisions made from hurt people. Don't walk away from the church based upon what you see in the pulpit. That's just a broken man or a broken woman sharing a gospel that God called them to do. But they're still broken. They're still imperfected. They still have blemishes. But in order to get to where God really wants you to be, you can't focus on the broken vessel. You have to focus on the one that placed them in that position and in that place. Yes, we ought to be able to change our lifestyle. We ought to be able to change our walk. There's not an excuse to say the things that I experienced, the things that I went through were all on somebody else. It's not an excuse. But what I'm saying is on today is that you have to be real with yourself. And once you're real with yourself and being transparent with yourself and suggesting no more, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to walk the way God wants me to walk. Will it be easy? No. But the race is not given to the swift, nor to the strong, but to the one that can endure unto the very end. Listen, y'all, I hope to see you guys in the future. I hope something was said today that will encourage you. May God bless you. May God keep you. May heaven smile upon you. Listen, share this, like this with somebody on my page, and that all information will be on there. But in this season, share this with somebody. This is not the season to be quiet. My pain, your gain. God bless you and have a wonderful day.
Do you have a business or product? Are you looking to advertise, maybe to get the word out to thousands of people on a daily? You should consider the Inspired Network. We have affordable packages that can assist you at getting the word out about your product or business. Call us today at 866-804-6774.
Your financial support keeps the ministry alive. You can be a blessing by sowing via Cash App today at $TeachJax, or you can text to give at 833-481-1524 and text the word GIVE.
So you've been watching the show. Would you like to be a content provider yourself and develop a show for the Inspire Network? Please give us a call today at 904-389-5592 or go to www.connecttv.info to submit a show idea.
Have a praise report or a testimony of how any of the programming at the Inspired Network has been a blessing to you? Please go to www.myprayerrequest.info. Click on the tab Testimony and submit it today. The IPC prayer team would love to know how effective the ministry is being to you.
Do you love video production? Would you like to have a career in video production, but don't know where to start? Your problem is you have no one to teach you. Well, the Inspired Television Network is initiating its apprenticeship program. We'll teach you video production, how to set up the simple camera operation, post-production, and advanced editing. Imagine sitting down with an expert and being taught weekly how to do it. It's a 6-month program that requires a minimum of 10 hours a week of hands-on training and 3 hours a week of classroom training. You've always wanted to make movies or learn production. This is the perfect program for you. Give us a call today at 904-389-5592 or sign up at www.learntv.today. It's free for churches and nonprofits.
Do you need a morning prayer line? A place you can call to hear from God? Call the International Prayer Council Intercessory Prayer Line, Monday through Saturday at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 904-299-72.